Welcome to Undersea Adventure. Move the mouse and click on the controls to begin your undersea adventure. See some action video in the Undersea movie theater. Manta means blanket in Spanish, and the manta ray's fins certainly look like a large blanket. They are strong enough so that the manta ray can use them to leap out of the water. Small fish will sometimes follow rays, hoping to pick up scraps of food that the ray might leave behind when it is done eating. Of all the Earth's living reptiles, turtles are the most in danger of becoming extinct. That is why many countries have passed laws protecting them and their nesting sites. Turtles live most of their lives in the sea and only go ashore to make a nest and lay their eggs. They have powerful flippers which enable them to swim very quickly, but they are very clumsy walking on the ground. Today, turtles are in danger of becoming extinct. An octopus has no bones or shell. Thus, it can reshape its body and squeeze into tiny holes and cracks between rocks. It can also change its color to blend into its surroundings. Moray eels come out of their hiding places in the rocks to hunt for food. Some people believe that they are poisonous, but that isn't true. However, when threatened, they can use their sharp fangs to inflict dangerous wounds. Sponges feed by filtering water through the pores and canals which pierce their bodies. They are extremely efficient and will extract almost every particle from the water, even creatures as small as bacteria. Stingrays get their name from the sharp, poisonous barb in their tails. They use it as both an offensive and defensive weapon. They normally avoid contact with humans, but will sting an unsuspecting swimmer if stepped on by accident. There are many kinds of reef environments. Some are in shallow, sunny water. Others are deeper and look more like caves. The coloring of this grouper helps it hide in the reef. The grouper can lurk in the shadows, and small fish swimming by won't notice it until they are sucked into the grouper's large mouth. Tropical reefs are extremely rich in marine life. A single reef can be the home for thousands of different types of animals and plants. All the different creatures depend on each other, and if the presence of humans or pollution reduces the number of just one of those creatures, all the others will be affected. Fish which live on the reef are often brightly colored so that they blend in with the bright colors of anemones and coral.
Triggerfish get their name from the 3 rays on their dorsal fins. These rays can be locked into an upright position so that the fish can wedge itself into a crevice when threatened.
A parrotfish's front teeth are fused together, forming a beak. It uses the beak to break off pieces of coral. It grinds up the limestone skeletons to get to the soft animals inside. Porcupine fish have armor plates made up of strong, sharp spines. When frightened, they fill themselves up with water so that they get bigger and the spines stick out. If they are removed from the ocean, they fill up with air until they are placed back into the water. Jacks like this have a slender, streamlined body which makes them very strong swimmers. Butterfly fish have a very compressed body that makes it easy for them to swim between the twisting branches of coral. Some varieties are easily approached by divers and do well in aquariums. Aren't you glad your school isn't this crowded? These fish like the crowd because there is safety in numbers.
Groupers and basses are well known for their large mouths, which rapidly expand and suck in unsuspecting prey.
When a ship sinks, animals will start to make a home inside of it. Coral and sponges will attach themselves to the bulkheads of the ship, while other creatures will find cracks and holes to live in. Soon the ship will look a lot like a natural reef. Divers must be very careful when exploring a shipwreck. They never know what might be hiding behind a wall or door. There might be a hungry shark inside. Rays and sharks can look very scary, but even these animals can be gentle enough to eat out of a diver's hand. Even though they are very large, they will not hurt divers except to defend themselves. Humpback whales can weigh up to 50 tons. It takes great strength to hurl their bodies out of the water. This behavior is called breaching. Because humpback whales are mammals and not fish, they must frequently return to the ocean's surface to breathe. Dolphins are strong enough to jump out of the water and still keep up with a very fast boat. In their natural environment, dolphins like to jump out of the water while they swim. This behavior makes it easy to train them to perform for people at marine parks. Dolphins are social animals and like to swim in family groups. That way, the stronger dolphins can protect the other dolphins who are too young or sick to protect themselves. Orcas, or killer whales, can swim at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. They are also excellent divers and can dive to depths of more than 3,000 feet. To dive so deep, they can hold their breath for up to 20 minutes. Orcas, or killer whales, are really large dolphins. Like dolphins, they live and hunt together in packs. However, they don't deserve the name killer. In captivity, orcas can be very friendly to humans. Narwhals are normally found only in Arctic waters, so photographs of them are rare. In ancient times, they were thought to be magical creatures because the narwhal's horn reminds people of unicorns.
Seals have a body structure similar to that of dogs and cats. However, they are well adapted to an aquatic life, with flippers and a streamlined body for swimming.
While looking at this seal, notice that it has no visible ears. That's one way to tell the difference between seals and sea lions. Sea lions have ears which stick out far from their heads. Elephant seals are called that because the males have a large fleshy nose that resembles an elephant's. The males are up to 3 times as large as the females and are very territorial. They frequently fight each other to impress the females. Sea otters spend most of their lives in the ocean. They even sleep in the water, floating on their backs. They tangle themselves in kelp to keep from drifting out to sea while they nap. Jellyfish do not pursue their food. Instead, they wait for a fish to swim by and get tangled in their tentacles. The tentacles contain cells which inject a stinging poison which keeps the fish from swimming away. Most sea anemones are permanently attached to a rock or other surface, but some species can actually jump and swim a short distance when attacked. Sea anemones use their tentacles to sting and capture fish to eat. Some animals, like these clownfish, become immune to the stings. Then they live inside the anemone's tentacles where they are safe from larger predators. Some scientists consider the shark to be the ultimate predator. It is perfectly designed for hunting in its environment. A swell shark gets its name from the behavior it displays when frightened. If attacked, it will swim into a crevice and swallow water until it swells up. That way it is jammed in the hole and the attacker cannot pull it out. Kids, don't try this at home. These divers are trained professionals. When divers want to study or photograph sharks, they must get inside big metal cages where they are safe from the shark's bite. They use pieces of meat or fish to attract the sharks. This way, the divers get great pictures while the shark gets a free meal. Polar bears are one of the most dangerous predators in the Arctic. They are excellent swimmers and will dive under the ice to chase their prey. In the entire world, there are only a handful of divers who have the special equipment and training required to tackle the dangers of diving under polar ice floes. Mammals which live under the ice, like these Arctic seals, have special layers of fat under their skin to keep them warm. They will stay in the water most of the time to avoid the extremely cold Arctic air. Because of its size and large tusks, a walrus can be dangerous to people when angered or frightened. It normally uses its tusks to dig for food, such as clams, from the mud on the ocean's bottom. Visit the kelp, coral, and open ocean rooms for clues. Then click on the shark to start the 3D treasure hunt. Press Escape to return to the main menu.
Hi, my name is Splash. I'm a manatee. Well, I used to be a boyatee, but then I grew up. It's a little joke there. Swim around, check out the ambient aquatic environment. And if you're in a gaming mood, click on the shark behind you. Oh, don't worry, he won't bite. He just ate a boatload of tourists. Ew.
Oh, come on in. Have some kelp with us. I just love the way it slithers down your throat. It's so slimy.
I just love a good kelp forest. Where else would a beautiful Garibaldi like me stand out, huh?
Oh, you caught me. Normally, my skin changes color so fast that you can't even see me.
I'm nudibranch. I give off a really bad smell that fish hate. My wife's not too crazy about it either. She's always telling me to take a bath, but I live in the ocean. It doesn't come off.
Wow! Wow! Wasn't that fun? Remember, click on that nasty old shark to start the game.
Well, aloha hoy. Come on into the ocean, eh?
I'm a dolphin, and my brain is as big as yours. Scary, isn't it? Hey, psst, come here. Did you see any sharks or barracudas nearby? I'm an amberjack, and those guys love to eat me. It's a good thing I'm fast, and I swim in giant schools. Oh, I gotta go. Hey kid, come here. You see that pointy tail of mine? One jab can kill a small animal. They don't call me Stingray for nothing. Now get out of here. Surfing USA!
Oh, ow, ouch! Oh, hi there. Hey, welcome to the coral area. Be careful. It's very sharp. Ouch! What did you say about my jawline? I gotta put my hundreds of teeth somewhere, don't I? I can't just wear them on top of my head, can I?
I may be a jellyfish, but that doesn't mean I go well with peanut butter. No, my stinging tentacles would cause a pretty bad case of indigestion.
Yes, I know. I am the most beautiful fish in the sea. Why else would they call me an angelfish, huh?
Wow, wasn't that fun? Remember, click on that nasty old shark to start the game. Come on, swim through and find the sunken treasure, but hurry or your oxygen will run out. You're doing great! Keep on swimming! But be sure to avoid the predators. Oh, I can't believe it! An undersea expert! Oh, it's been, I forget how many years! Oh, why, you are the smartest kid I have ever met! The smartest kid who ever lived in the history of the universe!
Study the marine animals that interest you most in the Undersea Reference section.
Sea lion. Bark is worse than his bite. The male sea lion is famous for his loud bark. During the mating season, when sea lions are establishing their territories, the male will bark constantly, barely stopping long enough to breathe. A sea lion pupping ground during the mating season sounds more like a dog kennel than anything else. There are several different species of sea lion, but the California sea lion pictured here is the best known sea lion and is popular in zoos and at the circus. A medium-sized creature, it is found mainly along the western coast of North America from Baja California in Mexico to San Francisco. Males tend to be dark brown in color, and the females are slightly yellowish with darker flippers. When sea lions are born, they are almost black. Sea lions feed mostly on squid, octopus, anchovies, and herring. The main difference between sea lions and seals is that the flippers on sea lions look and operate more like real legs. Sea lions are capable of walking and even running by twisting their hind legs into a slightly forward position, whereas seals must drag their hind flippers behind them.
Brown sponge, always eating. It may seem unlikely, but sponges are giant feeding machines. Sponges are constantly filtering water through their bodies to trap the microscopic animals and small pieces of organic matter that float in the water. Sponges with large openings at the top of their bodies are the best at filtering lots of seawater for food. If you gently put your hand over the top of a sponge, the flow of water feels like a spring welling up out of the ground. On some shallow reefs, you can even see the ocean surface continually bubbling up because large sponges are pushing water up through their mouths. Sponges use the same filtering system to reproduce. The sponge's male cells release tiny swimming cells into the water. These cells are tadpole-shaped and have a long hair that waves on their back end. The cells get swept up in the water currents of another sponge and then fertilize the eggs that are embedded in its wall. At this stage, the egg cell divides into more cells and the resulting larva, covered with hair-like cilia, swims out to find a new home. Once the larva settles somewhere, it grows rapidly, sometimes living only a year or so. It's also possible for a sponge to produce small buds that turn into new sponge animals without sexual reproduction. In fact, people who fish for sponges to sell have known for some time that if you separate a living sponge into little pieces and attach these pieces to good spots on the sea bottom, each would develop into a new sponge in several months to a year. Basket starfish, turn off the lights. For many years, not even the most experienced marine biologists knew much about basket stars. These thin, multi-armed relatives of the starfish are extremely sensitive to light. As a result, they spend most of their daylight hours curled up tightly around other invertebrates, such as sea fans, or tucked underneath rocks and sand. Hidden like this, basket stars are either invisible or look just like a plant. Some basket stars, such as the grasping snake star and the clinging snake star, wind themselves so tightly around the branch of a sea fan that it is impossible to detect them unless you're just a few inches away. At night, however, the basket star unwinds its many arms and goes searching for its favorite food, such as plankton or mollusks. Most basket stars use stationary organisms like sponges, sea whips, sea fans, and hydroids as their platforms for feeding.
Sea anemone, meat-eating flowers. Sea anemones may look like beautiful flowers, but watch out. Like their relation, the jellyfish, sea anemones have stinging and sometimes deadly poisonous tentacles. When a fish or other prey swims too close, the sea anemone's snake-like tentacles will release a poisonous stinging cell into the skin of the animal. If the animal is small enough, the stinging cell will paralyze it. Then the anemone's tentacles push the stunned prey into its mouth where it is quickly digested. The sting of most sea anemones isn't strong enough to hurt a human. Sea anemones, like the one in this picture, have up to 200 tentacles connected to their outer body. They spend most of their time with their sucker-like underbellies attached securely to rocks. Even the roughest waves cannot pull them away. The Waratah anemone is often found in tide pools along the rocky coasts of the Pacific. When the tide goes out and leaves the tide pool dry, the Waratah seals itself up, keeping enough water inside its digestive system to survive until the tide returns. Cockle, moving in leaps. There are many different cockle species on the European shores. It is easy to find their shells on the beach. This mollusk, which belongs to the genus Cardium, moves by leaping, supporting itself on its muscular foot. This foot shoots outside the valves and with a quick contraction causes the mollusk to be thrown upwards. It also uses this foot to bury itself in the mud or in the sand, where it spends most of its life. The cockle feeds on particles in suspension, which are part of the plankton, by filtering seawater through the cilia which cover their gills. In order to breed, both the male and female cockles expel their gametes into the water, where the spermatozoa fertilize the ova in a totally random process. This mollusk has a lot of enemies, among which is man, who harvests it by the millions.
Arrow crab, hardly Cupid's arrow.
Arrow crabs are the daddy longlegs of the sea. They move slowly and deliberately as if in slow motion. This behavior, combined with their raggedy appearance, makes them very difficult to spot underwater. Their long legs are hollow tubes made up of tough chitin and filled with muscles down the center, just the opposite of humans, who have bones inside and muscles outside. These tubes of muscle are what you buy as crab legs in the supermarket. Crabs cannot exist out of water for more than a few minutes because their shells dry out very easily. During low tide, these crabs can be found under piles of moist seaweed, down in shady crevices, or in the remaining water of a tide pool. Crabs breathe by pumping water over the feathery gills on their bodies.
Amberjack, strength in numbers. If you were a squid, an amberjack is one fish you wouldn't want to meet in a dark kelp bed. Amberjacks are fierce, powerful hunters that travel in giant schools and cruise the warm and temperate waters of the Atlantic in search of small fish and squid. Like the tuna and mackerel, amberjacks are well built for long-distance swimming. They have streamlined, muscular bodies, and their skin is covered by tiny, almost invisible scales that allow them to cruise through the water with little resistance. Amberjacks can grow to lengths of 6 feet or more and weigh as much as 120 pounds. Amberjacks are such determined hunters that they will often chase a school of small fish into a shallow lagoon just to get a meal. Young amberjacks look quite different from adults. Their bodies are thick rather than thin and covered with stripes. Even as young fish, amberjacks like to travel in enormous packs. Eventually, as amberjacks get older, they become less sociable and begin swimming in small groups of just a few fish.
Galapagos iguana, scary sea serpent. The giant iguanas of the Galapagos Islands are the only marine lizards other than marine crocodiles. They are big and black with large, warty masses of cells called tubercles on their heads and bodies. This makes them look much like the lava rock they usually bask on during the day. At night they go into crevices and caves higher on the shore to rest or sleep. As they are cold-blooded, their black skin helps them to take in the sun's rays and absorb warmth. Early explorers hunted iguanas for food and found them delicious. The iguanas seemed tame because they would not run into the cold seawater nearby. We now know that the iguanas must have the warmth of the sun to stay active. It is unhealthy for them to get cold for too long, so they are reluctant to enter the cold water when it is not necessary. These monster-like sea lizards are vegetarians. They feed on a brown seaweed called sargassum that grows on the underwater rocks, chewing it with their sharp teeth. These iguanas have flattened bodies and tails that they swing widely from side to side while swimming. Their arms and legs are pressed back along their sides. The only water for them to drink is seawater, but they have a handy salt gland in their noses that takes the extra salt out of their blood and produces drips of salty water that fall onto the rocks. The large female iguanas lay their eggs in caves near the shore, usually dug into sand or soil. Usually these burrows are within the territory of one dominant male who is the father.
Harp seal dances with seals. Did you know that harp seals can dance? During the mating season, the male harp seal will court the female harp seal by dancing up and down in the water next to her, keeping his body and head held in a vertical position. Harp seals can be found in the White Sea, on the east coast of Greenland, and on the northern coast of Newfoundland. Young harp seals are born with a white coat, which gradually changes into a dark brown pattern as they grow older. Baby harp seals feed on mysids and euphisids, while adults eat crustaceans as well as herring, squid, and polar cod. Harp seals follow a migratory pattern and move south in the winter and north in the summer as the ice begins to melt. Oceans, climate, and weather.
The oceans have been referred to as the flywheel of the climate system, since like a flywheel they store energy in the form of heat when it is in plentiful supply during the day or summer, and release it to the atmosphere when sunshine is absent or in short supply at night or during the winter. But this analogy is inadequate because the oceans do not just act as a passive energy store, but also play an active role, with ocean currents moving thermal energy from the warmer tropical and subtropical regions to the higher latitudes. As warm ocean currents move toward the poles, they lose heat to the atmosphere, and the warm air, when carried by winds over neighboring land masses, warms the land at night or during the winter. Oceans, therefore, play a part in determining the climate of a specific region by reducing the extremes of temperature which would otherwise occur. Western Europe, for instance, has a much more mild climate than Eastern and Central Europe because of the heat from the Gulf Stream which moves into the atmosphere. The temperature differences between land and sea reflect the different rate at which they absorb and lose heat. The land surface heats up faster than the sea during the day, but loses heat faster during the night or in winter. This is because the upper layers of the ocean mix with those below, passing some of the heat gained during the day downwards, and so reducing the rate at which it is lost to the atmosphere. The temperature range of the entire ocean is therefore small, from about 28 degrees Fahrenheit, the freezing point of salt water, to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, although temperatures as high as 95 degrees Fahrenheit are found in some semi-enclosed seas. During the course of a day, ocean temperatures rarely vary by more than 1 degree, and usually no more than 18 degrees over a year. For comparison, the range of temperature experienced in the middle of a continent during a year can be as great as 144 degrees Fahrenheit, and deserts may be scorching during the day, but freezing at night.
Southern Ocean, the deep freeze. The Southern Ocean, the great unbroken expanse of sea linking the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans, surrounds the unique continent of Antarctica. Its waters are ruled by powerful winds known as the Roaring 40s, the Furious 50s, and the Shrieking 60s. And its southern boundary is the ice cliffs and rocks of the Antarctic coast. The continent itself forms a hub around the South Pole. The shores of Antarctica are fringed by seas that are almost entirely ice-covered. In winter, 8 million square miles of sea have an ice crust. Even in summer, the coastal waters bear 1.2 million square miles of ice. This fluctuating fringe of ice can be seen as one boundary of the Antarctic, but most biologists prefer using a boundary known as the Antarctic Convergence Zone, an invisible frontier in the sea where cold surface waters meet warm surface seas. The icy seas and frozen wastes of Antarctica present one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. Yet the Southern Ocean is home to large numbers of seabirds, seals, and whales. This abundance of life depends on the biological productivity of the Southern Ocean. It is estimated that the Southern Oceans produce as much as 610 million tons of plant matter a year. Today, Antarctica contains over 90% of the Earth's ice. This represents about 70% of the planet's fresh water. The ice has accumulated to an average depth of about 6,500 feet over the continent as a whole, with more than 9,850 feet at many points above the low-lying rock floor of the continent. If all this ice melted, global sea levels would be raised by 200 feet. If the enormous weight of all this ice were removed, the surface of Antarctica could rise by 650 to 1,000 feet. Glaciers move slowly towards the sea and feed floating ice shelves. Known to pioneer explorers as ice barriers, the shelves are 657 to 984 feet thick and border the ocean over hundreds of miles. They can reach a depth underwater of between 490 to 820 feet. In winter, massive icebergs float among the sea ice. This creates a danger to shipping and mobile oil installations, which become trapped in the surface ice, unable to move out of the path of the icebergs. Only a narrow coastal fringe lies between the Antarctic ice cap and the sea. It is on this tiny area of land that most of the wildlife of the Antarctic lives and breeds, and where more than 70 scientific research stations have been set up. 2,000 to 3,000 tourists visit Antarctica each year, attracted by the scenery and abundant wildlife.
Blue-striped grunt. Grunt and groan. Grunts are noisy, thick-lipped fish that root small animals out from the sand and rubble or from among the bases of coral and near caves. This colorful species mainly inhabits reefs with clear water, though some members of this somber species live in the muddy, turbid waters of estuaries and river mouths. Each species of grunt makes a distinctive grunting or croaking sound. The sounds come from the throat teeth rasping against each other. Fish of various schools can keep track of each other and recognize members of the same species during the breeding season by these sounds. Large schools of grunt drift lazily about under the protection of the coral reef during the day. Then individuals spread out over the reef to feed at night. They have small mouths low on the head for feeding off of the bottom. Their short, strong teeth are designed for holding small active animals such as crabs and shrimp.
Learn more about anatomy in the Marine Animal Lab.
Unlike many undersea hunters, the octopus relies almost entirely on its vision to find and catch prey. For this reason, the octopus's eye is highly developed and can probably see images nearly as well as a human eye can. Much of an octopus's brain is devoted to interpreting the many signals coming from the octopus's eyes. The octopus eyeball is flattened like a fish eye. To focus on an object, the lens of the eye moves rapidly back and forth. The eye of an octopus is also quite large, making it easy for the octopus to see well at night when it does most of its hunting.
Funnel.
An octopus
Arms.
An octopus has 8 flexible and muscular arms. Each of these arms has suckers on the inside edges and is used both for walking over the ocean floor and for holding onto prey when the octopus is eating. An octopus's arms are highly sensitive to touch and can manipulate very small, fragile objects. The inside of each of an octopus's suction cups is lined by nerves that can detect the differences between the tiniest shapes. Female octopuses will often spend months moving and cleaning their fragile eggs, and none of the eggs will be damaged.
Body.
The octopus's large muscular body may look like a head, but in fact it contains all of the octopus's organs, such as the stomach, kidney, gills, and brain. Unlike the bodies of many undersea animals, the octopus's body completely lacks a shell or bones of any kind. It does have a soft cartilage-like substance that forms a protective layer around the brain. The skin of an octopus is well known for its ability to change colors quickly in order to match the octopus's surroundings. This is possible because the octopus has many different kinds of colors, called pigments, in its skin. The pigments are held in a small sac just under the skin. By using its nerves and muscles, the octopus can control how much of this pigment is released into its skin, thereby changing its appearance. Octopuses have strong beak-like jaws that are so powerful they can crush the shells of very large crabs and lobsters. When an octopus captures its prey, it holds the animal in its mouth, then kills or paralyzes it with a poison that is secreted by the octopus's salivary glands. The octopus then injects into its prey's body a digestive enzyme that dissolves many of the animal's toughest body tissues. Once the animal's body is soft enough, the octopus sucks it into its mouth. Because the octopus dissolves most of its food outside of its body, it only needs a simple digestive system to absorb food into its bloodstream. A few hours after an octopus captures a crab or lobster, all that's left is an empty shell. A lobster's eye is located at the end of a long, movable stalk. The eye has a hard, curved surface that is made up of thousands of tiny lenses. Each of these lenses acts like a separate eye, detecting differences in light and dark. Some lobsters are capable of seeing certain colors, such as blue and green. Because the surface of a lobster's eye is so large, lobsters see movements over a very wide angle, like the wide-angle lens of a camera. Lobsters are probably able to make out the forms and shapes of different objects. Lobsters have simple brains. A lobster brain consists of a dense collection of nerves called a ganglion. The ganglion sits at the end of a long string of nerve fibers that connect the brain to the rest of the lobster's body. The combination of the brain and these long nerves is called the central nervous system. As with other animals, the lobster's central nervous system transmits tiny electrical messages between the different parts of the body and brain. For instance, nerves in the lobster's legs, eyes, and shell are constantly sending messages to the lobster's brain about its environment. The brain, in turn, sorts through these messages and reacts automatically to those messages requiring some kind of action. This type of response is called an instinct, because the lobster doesn't actually think about the action before doing it. If the lobster's eye sends a visual message to the brain, say that a fast-moving object is approaching, the lobster's brain might respond by sending an electrical message to the tail, telling the tail to close rapidly and propel the lobster to safety.
The outsides of many sea stars are covered with small pincers on stalks. These protect the star by catching little animals trying to invade its skin. The stalks are concentrated around the large spines in the skin and also help keep the skin gills free of debris. The sea star has a large stomach that can be extended outside its body. After the star has pulled open a clam or mussel, it extends its stomach out of its mouth and between the clam shells to digest the unfortunate clam. A sea star will take hours to digest a clam dinner. Vision is generally poor in whales, but gray whales often stick their head up out of the water to look at the coastline. It is believed that they can recognize landmarks on shore like mountains and remember them to navigate the same route next year. Whales have large lungs to obtain oxygen from the air, but they exhale much of the air before diving. In a deep dive, the lungs are completely flattened and very little fresh oxygen is available to the whale. Instead, it uses the oxygen stored in the muscles and blood. The distinct rings in the shell represent years, like rings on a tree stump. This allows scientists to determine the age of the clam. In this case, the clam is 5 years old. Clams have a muscular foot that allows them to move about the bottom if they are not attached to a rock. Clams that live in sand and mud have a larger foot. It is pushed out the opening in the shell into the soft bottom. Water is pumped into the far end of the foot to expand it like a fleshy anchor. Then the clam pulls itself through the mud. By repeating this process, the clam can move deeper when danger threatens, or rebury itself if it is exposed. Next time you dig up a live clam at the beach, put it on a sandy or muddy bottom in calm water and watch it disappear. For a long time, it was thought that dolphins had poor eyesight. However, they can jump from the water and take small objects from a trainer. This certainly testifies to their good eyesight. In nature, it is more difficult for the dolphins to see because the water is usually not very clear. So in nature, the eyes are probably less important than the dolphins' famous sonar. Dolphins have relatively large, well-convoluted brains indicating a degree of intelligence. It is known that dolphins have signals and a rudimentary language. Much of the brain specialization may be related to the sonar capabilities, since bats, which also use sonar, also have relatively large brains. The large eyes can detect changes in the angle of the sun. This means sea turtles can migrate long distances over the open sea with only the sun and moon to guide them. Baby sea turtles climbing up through the sand right after hatching can recognize the horizon of the ocean even though they cannot see the water. The turtle's heart is four-chambered like those of mammals and birds, but the chambers are not completely separated. Blood returning from the lungs is partially mixed with blood returning from the body. When the turtle dives deeply or is sleeping on the sea floor, its lungs are flattened from the water pressure. But that does not stop the turtle because with its connected heart chambers, its blood can continue to circulate without going to the lungs.
Use your mouse or arrow keys to move around the 3D museum. Press Escape to return to the main menu. Coral animals can only grow in warm tropical seas where there is very little sediment in the water. That is because most corals depend on tiny algae which need lots of sunlight and live inside the corals' bodies. Soft corals are different from hard corals because they do not leave a tough skeletal material behind when they die. Beluga whales, like all cetaceans, breathe air through a blowhole on the top of their head and give birth to live babies. They also have warm blood. Beluga whales spend most of their lives swimming in the colder waters of the Arctic Ocean. Beluga whales are rather slow swimmers and are often preyed upon by packs of killer whales. Harbor seals have to be careful when they are in the water. Predators such as killer whales love to eat seals for dinner, or breakfast and lunch for that matter. Harbor seals are only found in the northern hemisphere and generally prefer colder climates to warmer ones. The harbor seal's streamlined body makes it a fast, agile swimmer, but not very mobile on land. Get away! Get away! The great white shark is one of the most ferocious animals in the sea. It normally likes to eat seals, fish, and even dolphins, but occasionally will take a bite out of a person. Great white sharks can grow up to lengths of 20 feet, though some divers and fishermen claim to have seen great whites that measured as long as 35 feet. These terrifying fish are most commonly found in the temperate waters off of California, Australia, and the Horn of Africa. Moray eels spend most of their time hiding in caves. When they are hungry, they will come out and snap up fish, squid, or crustaceans with their powerful jaws. Moray eels have a reputation for being dangerous to humans, but most moray eels will not attack a person unless they are provoked. The clownfish hides among the tentacles of an anemone for protection. Mysteriously, they don't get stung. Some scientists believe that the clownfish has a special covering on its skin that protects it from the stinging cells of an anemone. Sometimes, when a clownfish is in serious trouble, it will hide in the mouth of an anemone. If it is not careful, a hungry anemone will try to trap the clownfish in its stomach for good. The butterfly fish is a beautiful inhabitant of tropical waters all over the world. Its brightly colored body actually helps protect the butterfly fish from predators. Normally, Moorish idols like to swim alone. When they mate, however, they will gather in large groups near a coral reef. For any diver who is fortunate enough, this When a porcupine fish becomes scared, it can puff its body up to twice its normal size. The porcupine fish does this by swallowing large amounts of water all at once. The lizardfish is known to hide in the sand for hours until its prey swims within reach. At that moment, the lizardfish will use its pectoral fins to leap out of the sand and then seize the fish or crustacean with its large mouth. The wolf eel lives in cold water and loves to eat crabs, shellfish, and starfish. It has a large, powerful jaw that can easily crush a crab's hard shell. Like moray eels, wolf eels hide in caves and among rocks until their prey swims within reach. The wolf eel may look dangerous, but it is quite harmless. And seahorses are very funny-looking fish. They have a long tail that can hold onto strips of seaweed, and they can swim either horizontally or vertically. When seahorses mate, the male takes the fertilized eggs from the female and holds them in a tiny pouch until they hatch. As the young seahorses hatch, the male seahorse propels them out of its body one by one, letting the tiny seahorses float away in the ocean current. When a flounder is very young, its eyes are located on two sides of its face. Over time, though, the eyes rotate until they are both on the same side of the flounder's face. Many bathers have had their day at the beach spoiled by accidentally stepping on a hidden sea urchin. These spiny creatures are close relatives of the starfish. Their bodies can be segmented into 5 equal parts, and like the orange starfish moves around on thousands of tiny tube feet located on the underside of its arms. These tube feet are attached to tiny canals which line the inside of the starfish's arms. These beautiful blue sea stars live in the warm waters of the South Pacific. The constant pounding of the ocean's waves will eventually eat away at this rocky coastline. The nautilus is a close relative of the octopus and squid. Ancient ancestors of the nautilus were alive even before dinosaurs walked on the earth. To move through the ocean, the nautilus shoots water out of a small hole in its shell. The nautilus spends most of its daylight hours living in deeper waters. Deep-sea anglerfish live so deep in the ocean that there is almost no light with which to see. To catch tiny fish to eat, they use a glowing lure that is attached to their head. This lure draws other fish close enough to the anglerfish so that it can swallow them with its large mouth. Some male deep-sea anglerfish reproduce by attaching themselves to the body of a female anglerfish. They will remain there like a parasite, living off the female's blood supply. Follow a read-aloud story in the Ocean Tour.
During the tour, you can click on the speaker button to reread the text. Click on a word to have it pronounced.
Coral reefs. Coral reefs are beautiful places to visit. Many kinds of animals live there. Brightly colored fish swim together in schools. They spend their days looking for food. Sponges and anemones stay in one place. They eat the tiny animals that float by. When it's dark, an octopus will try to turn a crab into a midnight snack. You have to be careful in a coral reef.
During the
Can you find what part goes with what fish? I'll bet you can. Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
Oh, you're right. I'm an octopus, and that's my suction cup.
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
You're right, I'm a butterfly fish, and that's my eye spot.
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
Oh, you're right, I'm a starfish, and that's my arm.
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
You're right. I'm a jellyfish, and that's my tentacle.
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
You're right. I'm a dolphin, and that's my dorsal fin.
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
You're right, I'm a sea anemone, and that's my mouth.
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
Yes! Yes! You're right! I'm a porcupine fish, and that's my face!
Can you guess which animal this is a part of?
You're right. I'm a coral, and that's my polyp.
You're doing great! Can you guess which animal this is a part of? Do you really know your undersea animals? Let's find out.
I'm a parrotfish. Can you find me? That's correct. I am a parrotfish. I use my beak-like front teeth to eat coral. It's kind of like chewing on rocks. I guess it's an acquired taste. That hurts.
I'm fire coral. Can you find me? You are hot! I'm a fire coral. My sting is very poisonous and can cause humans to feel extreme pain. Don't touch me or you'll get burned.
I'm a hermit crab. Can you find me? Yeah, you're right. I'm a hermit crab. We live in old shells from other animals. How do you like mine, huh? I think it's pretty nice considering it was free. I hate paying rent.
I'm a sea anemone. Can you? Oh, you're so right.
I'm a sunken ship. Can you find me? That's right. A sunken ship like me can become a home for thousands of marine creatures. I'm a lionfish. Can you find me? Perfect. I'm a lionfish.
I'm a viperfish. Can you find me? Oh, very good.
I'm an elephant seal. Can you? You're right.
You're doing great!
I'm a brain coral. Can you?
What does your favorite marine animal eat? Let's find out.
I'm kind of shy, so I hide among the rocks with just my head poking out until I get hungry. What do I eat?
No way, I'm too small for him. I have to be filtered out of the water.
Better luck next time. It takes a... Squid is scrumptious. I'll leave my rocks any time for a good squid.
I can stick my stomach outside my body to eat. Pretty disgusting, huh? What do I eat?
No way, I'm too...
Better luck next time. Try again. Nope, I'm not afraid of that guy.
No, I eat so much coral that I can actually destroy a reef if I'm not too careful. Oh, I got a tummy ache.
No, don't touch me. No, I got poisonous spines all over. Don't touch me. Definitely bad to touch me. What do I eat? No way. I'm too small for him. No, kelp is so good. Oh, no, I grow so fast. I'll never run out. Oh, hand me another piece there, will ya?
I got sharp teeth, and I like to attack silver-colored fish or divers wearing bright jewelry. What do I eat?